You know what? I'll just say this. Is the grocery store gonna get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned?
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you're new here, my name's Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland, and here on my YouTube channel, I feature content that is generally focused on knitting and spinning. In this week's episode, I finally have a finished object. Well, not entirely finished. We'll talk about it in a minute. But it's taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot about my fallacies of thinking, my own self-prescribed limitations I had no idea I was operating under, and how I fell into a flop era, both online and just in general. So we're going to talk about so many things today. One, the mistakes I've made in recent past in my knitting journey, and how I like to apply the lessons learned here in 2025. So we have a lot to talk about. You might be excited to hear about the Vellicor. It's a pattern by Andrea Mowry. So gorgeous. I am excited to talk more about this project, but I'm also excited to talk about a project I had been working on for quite a while and why I am abandoning it and restarting over with new yarn from my stash. So let's start with the Vellicor, because I'm sure you're excited to see it, hear about it. I did knit this with yarn from my stash. It took me a very long time to knit this project. So I'm a little disappointed that I ran out of yarn, and I am in no place right now to pay like over $25 to ship yarn to me, even though it costs only $10. There's no way I'm going to do that. So I did what I could to finish the project and make it wearable, but it is only really wearable for me with a blazer, and I'm going to show you why. There are a few modifications that I made to this project that I would recommend, and I'm going to go into details on those. And I'll just take off my blazer so you can see the actual garment and not what I'm hiding from you. Mostly all of the ends I have to weave in. But because I did... Okay, so there's a lot that I did with this. Number one, I cast on the wrong size. I was very conservative with the size that I chose because I knew I was not going to have enough yarn. So if I were to check, I think the pattern probably calls for like 10 or 12 inches of ease, which I gave myself about 6. There's 3 things that I did in my modification. The first one was I knit the wrong size, okay? Because that would have saved me yarn. Had I knit it larger, I think I would have liked it a little bit more, would have fit more casual and similar to the actual design, but I didn't do that. When I realized that's going to be a major issue once I get to the bust and knit the drop sleeve, I started increasing every 4 rows. I increased 1 stitch on each end of the front and the back, and that allowed me to increase in pattern to get a wider upper area here, as you can see. The plan was to do an additional wide stripe, so to have about 2 extra inches, so that I think that this diameter here is like 12 inches. I prefer a 14-inch, I said diameter, circumference. The circumference of the upper arm is 12 inches, roughly. I would rather it be 14. And the plan was to have an extra repeat that would have totally allowed that, which meant that this probably would have sat like lower, obviously. So it's kind of up in my armpits. And if you've watched my channel at all, you know, like I talk a lot about my armpits and how I don't like my knits up in, as you see that they are right now. And because I don't have finished sleeves, the top section, which I think also the increases lend themselves towards it sticking out a little bit extra. Like I wish I had been able to kind of cap this off to make this sticking out a little less dramatic. So not happy with the sleeves. I thought maybe other than weaving in the ends to improve this as it is, I thought I might use the neon color to just do like a few rows of stockinette and then cast off. So it's like just gonna be a kind of rolled up little kind of cuff. I don't think a ribbing would look good in a contrast color so bright, but I thought that might be one way to kind of finish the edge in a way that makes it sit a little more flat and not so, you know how it sits like it's sitting like this instead of that. I don't know. I'm gonna weave in the ends tonight or tomorrow. There are 2 football games I'm very excited to watch tomorrow. The Eagles are playing the Commanders. I hope that the Eagles win. The Chiefs are playing the Bills. I'm rooting for the Bills. I know that the Chiefs got me into football through Taylor Swift, but I'm a Bills girly now, and Bills Mafia. It's our time. Mahomes, you need to go sit down with your wife and her decision to vote for Donald Trump, okay? I'm over it. I'm over you. I'm over you, Patrick Mahomes and Miss Mahomes. I'm not interested. I wanted to increase short rows, which are not written into the pattern, and I'm going to show you what I did. So as you can see, I have 2 repeats of the first contrast color here, but like every other block, I have 5 rows of the contrast here, and I have 5 rows here. So I just simply worked till I got to about like a third of the way in and did a wrap and turn. And then every like 2 sections, I did another wrap and turn on the next contrast row. In fact, the contrast and the main row, I did wrap and turns in the same area. So I wrapped and turned twice in the same spot with each color once. And then again 2 spaces over, and then again 2 spaces over, and I think I just had to do it 3 times. I did have to break the yarn and do the wrap and turns from this side backwards, from like I had to knit the stitch pattern backwards, and how I did that easily was I would simply purl into the patterned stitch here, and then when I was working the right side again, I undid those 2 stitches and I did the correct stitch pattern, which would have been way too difficult to figure out how to do from the wrong side. So then I did the final row, right side and wrong side of the main color, resolving all my wrap and turns. I've blocked this, and I was a little sad it didn't grow as much as I thought it would, again because of my carelessness in measuring my gauge swatching. I wish it fit way looser than it does. And again, I would have done another section here. Like I have 1, 2, 3, and I would have done a 4th, but I clearly didn't have enough yarn to do that. So, or even finish the sleeves. So I wonder what your thoughts are on my neon yarn thing. I think it might kind of cup the sleeves in a little bit so that it looks sort of like a tee and less like an unfinished sweater. Obviously, all of my ends not woven in don't help. But that's that on that. I think it looks good with the blazer. Who's gonna know? Who's gonna know my sweater has no sleeves when I'm wearing a blazer? Only people watching. I have had a really productive week so far. Brian and I accepted a new job. I'm very excited. It starts next Monday. So not the Monday coming up, but the next Monday. I've been rather productive. Obviously, I finished something that has taken me a very long time. I've been revisiting my other projects. I finally cast on the body to my Chained Oblivion. I thought that I made a mistake, but I didn't. So I did a thing, thought I made a mistake, undid it, redid it, realized, oh no, I wasn't mistaken, and then redid it. So anyway, it was a lot of false starts here. The cuffs do not have a twisted rib, which I prefer because it means that they're a little bit more stretchy and they fit well. I have so far modified this using the stitch count for the size 3 on the cuff, and then only increasing to the stitch count of the size 2 for the sleeve. In retrospect, after learning my lesson here with how much ease I prefer to wear, I think that I wish I cast on the 3rd size instead of the 2nd size, but I'm just gonna go with it. And I never wrote down the dimensions of my pre-blocked and post-blocked swatch. So I don't know, it is what it is. I'm learning though, I'm gonna start documenting everything. I used to rely on my YouTube channel as like a point of reference, but it's just way too hard to know which video, at which point in which video to look back to. So I'm using my notepad from now on and keeping track of all of these details. So I am knitting the ribbing with the twisted rib as the pattern calls for, which is not the same as the sleeve, which is fine by me. And I did use the same cast on as the sleeve, which I mentioned in retrospect. I wished I had done a like folded over looking, what is it? What's that cast on? I forget it every time. But I did the cable cast on because that is my preferred edge. It looks a little bit neater with other yarns. This is a little bit of a thick and thin yarn, but I think it looks quite clean. And I'm very happy with this so far. So I just cast that on last night and I've been working on it. And I've been knitting a ton on the ridges. So I'm almost done with the last of the 4 panels. I stopped mid-row, of course. So I have just a few rows to go on this, and then I will join the back panel and begin knitting the sleeves. So I think that this will be my highest priority in the next week because I can make a ton of progress, even potentially finish this one before I start work next Monday. So this could be very exciting. I've not crocheted any granny squares. I've pretty much put that project on hold because I really liked how it's been going, and I wasn't sure that I liked how stagnant I've been with my other projects. So I'm kind of catching up on beginning again with the Chained Oblivion cardigan, which is a gorgeous pattern. If you're not familiar, it has these wonderful cables. There's like 2 panels in the front, I think probably in the back as well, and a lot of seed stitch. So I love that, and that is a full 7 skein sweater quantity from my stash. So I'm making a big dent in my yarn stash knitting this project up. Same with the ridges. I had that 10 skein quantity in my stash for quite a while as well. So I'm excited to have that knit, and I'm turning into a beige bitch over here. I mean, this is gray, and I love that for me because it will match anything, whatever pants, whatever shirt, whatever I'm wearing, it's gonna match. So I love that. And I love this too. This is obviously like my other color story that I like, that kind of bronze, amber, gold, mauve moment. Speaking of mauve, so backtrack. I pulled out all of my whips. I have 2 other whips. One is this mitten that I don't have a pair to, but I did long ago cast on the cuff to the 2nd mitten and started the color work. And I think I immediately was unsure. I had knit the thumb on the right side and I stopped. And this project has been haunting me because I feel like if I don't knit it, I never will. So I'm thinking I should, but it's not the biggest priority right now. I think I'm going to let myself finish something else first and then finish this. I just don't know. But I would like to just not have this laying around as a project. I would like to see it laying around as something to wear when I need it. And these would have been great for the moments where I had to clean off my vehicle, because we have gotten a lot of snow this year. So these would just be really nice to have. One whip I might not ever finish, but I would like to think I might. And then the other one was just like mental torture thinking about picking up again. This is another example, like the Vellicor, where I had this mindset that I should only knit from my stash and I should get every yard possible out of what I have in my stash. I have been very reluctant to apply a full sweater quantity to a project that might need a little less than what I have available, because I don't want to end up with 1 or 2 remaining skeins that I don't have an application for, which wouldn't even be the worst thing. So what I have done instead is applied yarn I certainly don't have enough yardage for to future projects that can't possibly be finished because I don't have the yarn I need to do it. So I convinced myself naively that I could just manifest the yardage I would need to knit the short sleeve instead of the quarter length sleeve that I actually preferred. If I haven't mentioned yet, this is the Natasha Hornby pattern. I don't know how to say the name, so I will put it on the screen here and show you what the actual project looks like. I was picking yarn from my stash that resembled aesthetically the yarn the sample was knit from, but the sample is knit in a merino linen blend, which I don't have. And if I did, I would know. A linen merino yarn blend has drape. Brooklyn Tweed's Loft is a spongy, light, woolen spun yarn that has it has a delicateness, but not drapiness. It just is a little stiff. It would have been fine if there were no welts. But the difference between the yarn the project was originally knit with and the yarn I chose to knit the pattern shows up in the welts. And just this one welt alone, which I think I did twice. I did it at the top and bottom. It's lumpy, it's bumpy, and I was miserable knitting these welts. I've also steam blocked this twice. I cannot get this little asymmetrical piece here to not skew to one side, which makes me wonder if I will ever get it to lay flat. And I think I just chose the wrong yarn for this project. A gorgeous project. A pattern that's in my library that I paid for, and you know, a stash of patterns can be as valuable as a stash of yarn. Like I paid a lot less for the pattern than even a single skein, but it's still money invested in a resource that I would like to capitalize on. So I do want to knit this pattern. I'm going to start from scratch again with yarn from my stash that I know I have plenty of yardage to complete the actual full, it's not a full length sleeve. I think it's a 3/4 length sleeve, but it's the sleeve I prefer. I would rather not knit the cap sleeve. I'm going to knit it in yarn that I've had for a very long time, that I've struggled to find a project for. I was going to knit the home front, but again, I would have had more yardage than I needed for that project, so I wasn't thrilled about the pairing. And I think that this is going to be just the right gauge, drape, and yardage for this project. This is a very structured yarn. I have 6 skeins of this Quince & Company Finch yarn. It's a 4-ply fingering weight yarn. It is 100% wool, so it's not going to have the drape of a linen blend, but the worsted spun nature of a 4-ply is going to have far more drape than a 2-ply woolen spun yarn, which is rather plumpy and lofty and light and just not quite right. I don't know what I'm going to do with these pieces here. I think I will frog them and put them back into my stash. I have a day of frogging planned this week. I don't know when. I will try to record it for you in case that is satisfying. But I'm frogging this, putting it back into my stash. I do need a project for about 150 grams of Brooklyn Tweeds Loft in this gray color. I think I might try to knit Brian a hat, but we'll see. I'm excited to have this. I think that this skein, I have a skein of, oh, what's this mill? Abundant Earth Fibers. Love the mill. They make gorgeous yarn, and I've had this extra skein for a minute. Again, like just squirreling it away for a future project. But this project, I think of all the other skeins in my stash, I think that this contrast color pairs best with this Finch yarn. This color is in the, this is the color Twig, it's like mauve medium. And then this is like an oatmeal color. It's like a heather yarn. And I'm thinking that these will pair well together. This is, I think, a 3-ply, if I'm not mistaken. So it has a comparable amount of structure to it. It's a little bit less worsted feeling. Like it has a little bit more of like a halo to it, a little bit more of like a fluffiness to it. But because it's the contrast color and not the color I will be knitting any welts, I think that welts will be far more enjoyable to knit with this yarn than the Loft. So I'm optimistic. I want to cast this on next. I already own the pattern in my library, so this is going to be the next cast on. I was thinking a lot. Oh, I just discovered I have another plan. I really want to knit a couple patterns by Teti. Oh, what's Teti's last name? I don't recall Teti's last name, but she's here on YouTube. You probably watch way more of her content than mine if you're aware of her as a designer. But I want to knit that cute little vest of hers. I forget the name, but I have these two skeins, and I'm a little worried they might be a bit too thick. I'm not familiar with the yarn she chose to knit that vest pattern, but I have enough yardage to knit that design, even if my swatch or even if my yarn is a little heavier than the pattern calls for. I'm not sure exactly which size to knit. I'm kind of between sizes, but I think I might knit the smaller size. I don't know. I'll have to read the instructions and find out if I need to cast on the same number of stitches or not. That way I don't have to like agonize over which size to start. It might be that every size starts the same. I don't know. And then I have a little skein of hand spun yarn for my contrast. This is a little bit lighter than another remnant skein I had picked out to knit this with, but I think I have enough yardage. So I think that this will be very moody, very pretty. I don't know what shirt I would wear under the vest. It's kind of a wait and see. I just think the vest is so cute, and I like the yarn, and I think it'd be a good application of the amount I have, and there's no chance I'm gonna run out. So I'm confident about that project starting. But my goal is to finish a project before I start another project. So I have those two planned, and I have 2 on the needles, not counting the mittens, although maybe I should. I think if I start the ridgies, I might cast on the little vest, and then when I finish the vest, I might cast on the Natasha Hornby, and then if I could finish these gloves, I might be well on my way through this guy, and then I can like think of something else. So there's that. I think that's everything. Although, you know, one more project because I want to knit with my hand spun, and I would like to cast on a hand spun project sooner than later. I'd mentioned this last week as well. I have, I think, about 300 grams, so it's not quite enough to knit a full-size garment. unless I were doing like a ranunculus, which has like a very odd gauge. This is a swatch of the yarn. So here's my yarn, and then here is the yarn knit up. You can see like it has some striping to it, like the color isn't perfectly blended. So I'm just not sure I want to knit it into a garment. I think I really want to knit this into a shawl. I think I really want to knit this into a shawl, and yet I don't know how I want to knit it yet, but I think I want to design a shawl pattern. And so I would kind of just like to finish something I've started and then cast on another thing to just have on my needles when I don't want to think. And then design a shawl. But anyway, I've been knitting. I've also been watching Gossip Girl, but only after 5 o'clock, because I would feel like such a bum if I watched Gossip Girl all day long, which I could allow myself to do, but I'm trying to stay productive in a structured way. I will say I have been focusing on cleaning a lot, but not like spending all day cleaning. I caught up on a lot of laundry. Ryan built shelves in my closet.
Observe that closet, Cousin Elizabeth. What do you say to that?
Well,
Is it not the very essence of practicality and convenience? Lady Catherine de Bourgh herself was kind enough to suggest that these shelves be fitted exactly as you see them there.
shelves in the closet. Happy thought indeed.
Anyway, I painted a closet. I have a whole new setup in there, which is so divine. I can finally hang all of my blouses and blazers and dress pants. So I'm like ready for my professional career, where, you know, I've worked in a professional office setting, but we were allowed to wear jeans. So there were times where I would dress down, and it didn't matter if like something were a little wrinkled or, you know, like shoved in a closet. So I ironed all my shirts. I had all of my blazers that needed dry cleaning. I had them dry cleaned. I had my pants taken in that I've never been able to wear before. I bought these, I mentioned it last week. I bought these over a year ago. They're gorgeous. They're pleated, have this cute little detail. They're handmade, very cute. And I can finally wear them for the first time ever. So I thought I'd wear them today. They're a little bit more of like a cool brown, but I feel like it's probably better not to match like everything. You know, there's like I think the cool brown of the pants kind of pulls from the mauve color in the blouse that you don't really pick up on camera. But I think this is a cute outfit. It probably won't be my first impression outfit. I think because I don't know what I'm doing exactly. I know like running reports and reconciling things, but because I don't know what I'm doing and I can't prepare for like exactly what I'm doing, I'm preparing everything else, which doesn't matter. Like I am preparing my wardrobe because it's all I can control. And I want to make a good first impression. So I'm like trying to think of like what to wear. Anyway, I'm very excited to continue Gossip Girl. I think I'm in season 3. This show is just wild and crazy. I tell you what, you know, if you've never watched Gossip Girl and you just start and you begin at season 1, episode 1, you're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you I love Chuck Bass. Because the TAYLOREOWEN sitting before you in real life might not have ever given Chuck Bass a pass for the way he behaved in episode 1, season 1. But because of the development of his character and the integrity of his character, he is my favorite guy. Dan is terrible, not a fan. He's the cutest, but he's like the worst. Like I would never date Dan. I would hate Dan in real life. He's also like a liar. Anyway, I'm not a Dan girly. You know, what's the political guy? Brian and I have a joke in our household to call everyone by the wrong name. So like Serena is Sabrina and Jenny is, I don't know what we call Jenny. I don't like Jenny either. Jenny and Dan are the worst. Blair, I like Blair. Blair is like a pattern of redemption arcs every episode, and I live for it. I think it's entertaining. I think it's fun. So many of the like secondary characters are annoying and not as like, I'm not invested in them. But Hilary Duff has had quite a cameo, and that was exciting to see. I just saw the Lady Gaga episode. That was funny. Sonic Youth. I'd love to know what you're watching on television. Have you been paying attention to the US political news? I hope not. It is depressing. Elon Musk is a full-fledged fascist, which many of us knew already, but like now, I mean, can you deny it at this point? Like, I'm just excited to see all of the radical action to come of this administration. I think that is the silver lining here. If there is one, if there is a silver lining, there will hopefully be more reactionary action to the wrongdoings of this administration than we saw in the Biden era. I think that in the Biden era, we all became a little complacent with the things happening that were wrong. And there were many wrong things happening and not enough right things happening. I'm not here to tell politicians how to do their job, but like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the way things are, and it's just getting started, and it's very scary. And I hope that everyone out there is prepared for what's to come in whatever way one could be. It's quite frightening, really. That is it for this week's episode of the Thread to Mine podcast. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into this week's episode, let me know in a comment below with the television emoji. I would love to know what you are watching lately. I find that watching television does help me in focusing on my knitting and getting my knitting worked on. I've been watching a lot of Hassan Piker's streams uploaded to YouTube. That's pretty much how I stay on top of current events. I don't have the, I don't know if capacity is the right word or patience, but I just don't enjoy watching mainstream media content directly. But if I'm watching it through the lens of Hassan, where I feel like I'm less alone with my opinions and perspective, I can like find the news a little more tolerable, because people like him give me a little bit of hope that there is reasonable and rational people out here in the world that can see through a lot of this garbage. There's that on that. I'm just glad that you're here and that you made it this far into this week's video. If you want to find me on social media, I just joined Blue Sky. I was trying to use the search function to find like people to follow and like things to scroll, but it didn't work. Like, I searched knitting and nothing came up. And I'm like, what is going on with this platform? Like, does it have an algorithm? How does this work? I don't know. But for right now, you can still find me on Ravelry, obviously, and Instagram. Zuckerberg is not my... I don't want to give any more than I have to these terrible people. And to think that, like, I think Elon wants to buy TikTok now. I'm like, ugh, okay, well, I was hardly on TikTok anyway, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. God, this world is scary. We are entering an era we cannot undo. I digress. I wonder what you're watching. Are you going to watch the game on Sunday? The games? Are you rooting for anybody? Let me know below who you want to win the AFC and what's the other one? Championship games? Because whoever wins are making it to the Super Bowl, and that is exciting. Can't wait for that. We were thinking We only have one television in the bedroom, so like not an appropriate household to host a Super Bowl party. But we were thinking if Brian said if the Ravens made it to the Super Bowl, maybe we would bring the TV downstairs for a day and host a Super Bowl party. But maybe if the Bills win the game tomorrow, I will host a Super Bowl party too. Like the 0 people who care. No one, I mean, I live in Baltimore. People only care about the Ravens here, which is fine. I get it. But Josh Allen, even Chiefs fans like Josh Allen. That's how likable he is. I'm going to say goodbye. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Blue Sky and Ravelry. It's TAYLOREOWEN. And again, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and that you take care.
Obviously, German elections are coming up, right? German elections are coming up, and one of the parties that has gained a lot of momentum in the past couple of years is the Alternative für Deutschland, AfD, which is the neo-Nazi party in Germany. Of course, you can't be openly a neo-Nazi in Germany. It is illegal. So therefore, they do a lot of like dog whistling. And sometimes, depending on the political circumstances, as conditions worsen, they've become more glaringly obvious about their neo-Nazi propaganda. There's plenty of Holocaust denial, which is illegal, and Holocaust revisionism, which is also illegal in Germany, that they have engaged in. But Elon Musk, of course, is aligned with the AfD, a party that is so right-wing that even Le Pen's party, the Nationalist Party in France, has decided is a bridge too far, where they won't like align with them, the AfD. That's how right-wing and fascist the AfD is, that other right-wing fascist movements in Europe do not even want to fully align with them, openly align with them, because they think it's too politically problematic. Elon Musk, of course, has no such considerations. He does not care. He's open about it, because what are you going to do about it? He literally sig-heiled a couple days ago. So after doubling down and tripling down and then also making jokes about sig-heiling, Elon Musk appeared at an AfD rally in Germany. Here's what he had to say.
Well, first of all, I wanted to really say that I'm very excited for the AfD, and I think you are really the best hope for Germany. I think some things that something I think that is just very important is that people take pride in Germany and being German. This is very important. It's okay to be proud to be German. This is a very important principle, and it's okay. It's good to be proud of German culture, German values.
Damn, he's even doing the dog whistles, dude. It's very good to be part of the German culture and German values.
Not to lose that in some sort of multiculturalism that dilutes everything. You know, I think we want.
Yeah, you know who else said that? Adolf Hitler, dude. That's crazy. Okay, this is crazy.
You know, I think there's frankly too much of a focus on past guilt, and we need to move beyond that. Children should not be guilty of the sins of their parents, or even let alone their parents, their great grandparents, maybe even. And we should be optimistic and excited about a future for Germany. That's really my message: is be optimistic, excited, and preserve German culture and protect the German people. And and there's some other things that I think would be very helpful too, which is I think you want more self-determination for Germany and for the countries in Europe, and less from Brussels. That's my opinion. I think there's too much bureaucracy from Brussels, too much control from sort of global elite. And when I've given talks at these sort of global...
Also, it's so funny to say, oh, I hate the global elite. Dude, you're a South African-American billionaire. You're a South African who lives in America now. You are the wealthiest billionaire on the planet. You are the global elite. Like, what are you talking about? You literally want to chip people. You want to put a chip in people's brains, and you are a defense contractor for the American state. What is going on here? What is happening here? This makes no sense.